In the second chapter of Matthew, we have a very grim story. The story of an endangered child. A child hunted down by a murderous king. And under that king's nose, a visitation from these exotic strangers from the east, magi, magi in your native tongue. These really interesting people, the priests of the religion of Zoroastrianism, used their astrology to find this heavenly portent and come and find Jesus. And of course, this, every damn Christmas, right? The Star of Bethlehem. They interview some stupid astronomer who thinks he knows about the Bible. A good astronomer who thinks he knows about the Bible, right? And as if this is describing some physical phenomenon that you could observe. But in the story, right? I mean, this star moves around quite a bit and actually is able to park over a house. You can tell which house it's actually over. And yet Herod didn't know what was going on. And the story makes no sense as either a scientific account of an astronomical phenomenon or as a story. It makes sense only at the theological level that Matthew is wanting to work out as he shows Jesus being honored by these Gentiles who are drawn to him by signs in the heavens, but that's not enough. To get to Jesus, they have to go consult the Hebrew Bible. Where is this Messiah going to be born? Well, he's going to be born in Bethlehem, you see. So Matthew's setting up here in a wonderful, wonderful way for what he hopes will be the later history of the Jewish people, combining with pious Gentiles. And through the story of a murderous king trying to wipe out a possible claimant to his throne. Of course, that's the story of Moses all over again, right? Pharaoh. Moses almost dies in the genocide that Pharaoh inflicts upon the people. And so Matthew shows Jesus living out not only the career of Moses, and that's where the connection with Egypt comes from, but also the whole people of Israel who leave Egypt. Out of Egypt I have called my son. Well, of course, in Hosea, my son refers to the people of Israel. Refers to the great Exodus. So in citing that, Matthew associates Jesus with the great Exodus. Then you've got the horrifying story of the slaughter of the babies, just like in Egypt under the Pharaoh. You have the scene or the prophecy of Rachel weeping for her children, which is a scene from the exile in the book of Jeremiah. So Jesus is associated with not only Exodus and Moses, but also with exile, this great tearing away from his people, and yet the return to the land of Israel after exile, so that Jesus is recapitulating in his early years the history of his whole people. So Jesus is Israel for Matthew, and it's with great skill theologically that this happens. The story won't hold up in any realistic fashion, but that's not the point, of course. It's the point of all those prophecies which get fulfilled, and at the end of it, Matthew gets Jesus to Nazareth, which is quite a trick, because for Matthew, Jesus is born in Bethlehem because that's where his parents live, as opposed to Luke, who has to have the parents come down there on this trip, and then he's born then. And Matthew then has to explain how it is that Jesus born in Bethlehem came to be known as Jesus of Nazareth. And he does that by means of a divinely guided intervention. The angel tells Joseph, well, don't go back to Bethlehem, go up north to Nazareth and make your home there. And that even fulfills a prophecy that Matthew tells us, the prophecy, he shall be called a Nazarene. Now that's a big mystery, because that's nowhere found in the scriptures. This is you can see almost every time someone quotes from the scriptures, they tweak it somehow, right? They get it, they substitute phrases. They'll blend in pieces of one prophecy with another to make a composite prophecy. But here's a case in which a prophecy is simply just invented. It's hard to know whether Matthew is trying to put a fast one over on his people or what. And there's long been complicated explanations by Orthodox scholars, I suppose, to show how this really is a verse from something, somewhere. And well, I don't envy them that task, because it just isn't there. And I give, well, it's in the simplest fashion in which I could try to explain that theory as to how you get that. And it is very difficult to follow. Page 115 to 118. If you really want to put yourself through it, you can try to track down those steps in reasoning. It took me a long time to write that down to the point where you could see there's actually 3 steps and all the connections made, whatever. Anyway, the point, of course, is that nothing in the early history of Jesus is accidental. Everything is divinely guided, everything is predicted, everything is done in such a way as to recapitulate the history of the people. The point is obvious to Matthew's Jewish readers, right? That all of Israel has been building up to this boy. And that's the spirit in which I think Matthew's story is best